Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this time it's festive, it's the holidays, and my friend Patrice is here because we're going to be ranking some Rankin-Bass, our top 10 holiday specials from the beloved animators. Patrice, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is one of my absolute favorite film genres ever is stop motion animation. I've been
Mhm.
watching Bass Rankin my whole life, so I'm so excited to talk to you about why.
And this was indeed Patrice's idea, and it was a lot of fun, so we went along with it. But what we're going to do is Patrice is going to go through her list 10 to 1. We'll talk about each of the films, and then I'll do mine. And if there's anything new to add, we will. But Patrice, what's your number
All
10?
right. My number 10 is their version of A Christmas Carol, The Stingiest Man in Town. I
Okay.
love the voice cast on this one. The fact that you've got Walter Matthau doing the voice of Scrooge, and that
Nice.
just like with most of their animation, the characters tend to look like the voice. If you actually look at them, they
Mhm.
resemble them, but they still have that very distinct Baz Rankin style to them.
Yeah.
But until seeing this, I didn't realize how great and perfect Walter Matthau was for Scrooge. I mean, he's got the best delivery. I mean, him and Michael Caine could go head to head for the best Scrooge for sure.
Mhm.
But you've also got Tom Bosley being like a Gonzo style narrator, but
Mhm.
30 years earlier, actually like 40 years earlier, because he's this like cricket kind of guy narrating along. So
Mhm.
it's fun to have. I like the Christmas carols where they do have the outside narrator. Seems like a lot more
Mhm.
fun than just we're a fly on the wall. So you get this little cricket guy that's the Tom Bosley's voice, carrying you through the story. But I do like that, in a lot of these, they kind of bring the religious aspect into it just a little bit, but not too much. So you do get a little bit of that, why this holiday is existing
Mhm.
mixed in. But the animation on those is always so beautiful because they always include stained glass, which I think
Mhm.
is just such a pretty look, especially, for the time period that this was made. This is all hand drawn. And the details in those kind of scenes, especially, just really blow my mind. Like the colors and the just tiny little fragments in the windows look
Mhm.
really good in animation. But, Paul Frees also does voices in a lot of these, so it's kind of fun to hear him every once in a while doing these little off characters in the background, because he's the voice of the Haunted Mansion. So hearing him do
Ah,
voices in all of these is really cool.
absolutely. And it's hard not to argue with having Walter Matthau as a grumpy old
He's
Scrooge.
perfect.
He's absolutely perfect. I grew up watching the 90s Dennis the Menace movie.
Mhm.
Mr. Wilson! And
Yeah,
when you have a actor who's famous for a movie and a sequel, Grumpy Old Men,
right.
like that kind of sells itself. So,
100%.
well, and it's hard to go wrong with a Christmas Carol adaptation. So, it's always fun to
Right,
have that too.
exactly. So, next one on my list is The
Mhm.
Little Drummer Boy. I like this one for a lot of reasons, and I think it's
Mhm.
because it's so reminiscent of a lot of other movies, but
Yep.
it also tells it's the story it's supposed to. So if you look at the beginning of this, opens up with the drummer boy and his group of farm animals like dancing into town, basically. And it looks like the musicians of Town when you look at the style. Like all the versions I've ever seen, it looks just
Mhm.
like that. And it's kind of fun to see, animals dancing upright and stuff are always fun,
Mhm.
but the relationship he has with them is a lot of fun to deal with, and how he doesn't want to be around people and he wants to be with his animals, but then how it brings it back into the nativity story. And
Yep.
the details on these costumes for the stop motion is crazy. I mean, when you look at how many background characters there are in some of these
Yeah.
scenes, especially near like in the nativity scenes when they have the crowds of people start showing up, there's so many pieces moving too. They're not
Mhm.
all like some of them you get the kind of stationary shots of a lot of the characters just standing there looking, but then others you actually see movement on all of these.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that because I've done stop motion. Like I did a lot of it in school, like growing up middle school, high school. I did a lot of stop motion. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate the effort that went into all of that
Yeah.
because it's hard to keep track of that. I can't even imagine keeping track of 40 moving pieces. Like this person was moving, like was waving their hand this way, but this one was putting his hat on. And the fact that and doing all that physically without touching everything is also crazy. So I think part of what I really appreciate about this one is just the technical. They worked with sand too. There's a lot of
Yeah.
desert in this one.
Mhm.
So besides being a fun story and having the music that we all know and done well, you know,
Bum.
it's just and it's not I don't feel like the music on in this one goes on too long because sometimes they can kinda drag on in some of these.
Yeah.
So, this is one of the few where I feel like the songs were just long enough without being like, "Okay, I've been listening to this song for 5 minutes. We can move it along."
Yeah. We get the point. But no,
We
this
get it.
has some of the most iconic music, obviously, the song Little Drummer Boy, even David Bowie went and did a cover of it that I'm pretty sure everybody has heard before. This is one of the tighter ones because it's one of the 25-minute specials instead
Yeah.
of the full hour ones. And you have like Jose Ferrer popping up in this. They always seem to be able to find somebody really famous to show up in these
Yeah,
specials. And
always.
who wouldn't? Because it's like it's such a nice family kind of thing.
Mhm.
And back when TV was big in that way, because TV was
I mean, they
relatively
were
new.
yeah, so they were
No.
looking forward to these. Like, they
Yeah.
knew, a month out, we are gonna be home on this night, and we're watching this as a family, and it was a big deal.
Well, and this is definitely one of the most iconic ones too, because this is definitely one of the most beloved ones, has stuck around. Uh, Spoiler alert, this one is very close to the same position that I have it on my list. So, but Patrice, what's your number eight?
It might seem a little low for some people, but I've got Rudolph next, the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed
Okay.
Reindeer. I love this movie. I think it's so absurd, all the things that happen, right? I mean, you've got an elf that wants to be a dentist. You've got everyone ostracizing this little baby reindeer like the day
Uh,
he's born for a birth defect. Like when you're a kid, you're watching it and it's great and it's fun. As you get older and you're watching it, you're like, some of these things are so absurd. They're getting mad at a deer for having a cool light up nose, and that just everything about it. Yukon Cornelius is great with his menagerie of
yeah,
weird little dogs
yeah,
licking his pick. All the songs are fun. The Island of Misfit Toys is great. I love that
yes,
they ended up spending more time on those in another little special at some point. I wish that had been longer.
yeah.
But, they have fun songs in this one too. And, you got Burl Ives. I mean, come
Yep.
on.
The coolest snowman ever.
The coolest snowman ever. So cool that they had to bring him back for Elf.
Exactly. Well,
I mean,
that's the thing too, because if you're gonna pick any of them, I feel like this is the special.
oh,
And to the point where it's like, yeah, Elf spoofed a lot of Rudolph the Red-Nosed
so
Reindeer.
much. So
Very
much.
specifically,
I
but
mean,
I do agree with the which is interesting because I was watching a movie earlier today that had the horrible trope of why is the whole entire world a bunch of a-holes and have to give this one character so much crap just for the plot of the movie? Because no,
right.
this is one of the like early ones because it's like leave this poor reindeer alone.
I mean, the day he's born, they're basically running him out of town. And his
Yeah,
dad's like, "Yeah, you can't be different. Slap this on your nose because we're hiding this boy." Yeah, it's crazy. And
yeah,
then,
Dad's a jerk.
your
So,
dad's mean. So your mom and your girlfriend are the ones that are coming out looking for you.
yeah. But no, the I do love the Isle Misfit toys. That's one of the coolest ideas in any of these
It's
specials.
so
It's
great.
so
Everything
great.
about that is so amazing. I love that part of it. But it's a great story. I mean, obviously, like it's a classic for a reason. I watch this every year. I
Mhm.
probably watch
Yep.
it multiple times this time of year. But this is not the last time you're gonna see Rudolph on my list though.
I
So
also agree. But and even like the snowman, like the abominable snowman, it's like he bounced.
yeah, Bumbles bounced.
Bumble
They're just
bounced.
so fun.
But Yukon Cornelius is also one of my favorite supporting characters in any of these. He's so much fun. I love him as a character.
Yeah, I've got
Herbie
about
though,
5 of
wanting to
him
be a
on my tree.
dentist,
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah,
I just automatically think of Little Shop of Horrors and just Steve
exactly.
Martin over here.
Yeah, it's like I live in a land of sugar. What do I want to do? I'm gonna make everyone miserable.
Oh
Yeah, it's
no.
crazy. So
Pardon, you heard
next
me.
up,
Yep, next
mhm,
up.
next up, I've got one that I don't think a lot of people actually know about. It's the first Christmas, the story of the first Christmas now, and it stars Angela Lansbury as a nun. And I love this one because it's such a sweet story. I love that it's got the nuns. I love that it's deals with orphans
Mhm.
and that it comes back around in the end to not ostracize the kid from the group. Like the kids that made fun of him realize they messed up. They go out to help him because there's in the middle, obviously, we got to have some conflict and get
Yep.
things happening. But um, you know, it's another one of those things like Rudolph, though. The priest doesn't want the blind kid to live with the nuns. He's got to go to an orphanage. He can't be here. It's like that doesn't seem like the lessons that God taught you, but okay. You got Angela Lansbury, like, pulling for this kid the whole time, and she sings, beautifully. I mean, she sings White Christmas. I'd put her version up against Bing. I mean, it's amazing. She's so
That's
talented. I
because
miss her.
Angela Lansbury
I mean,
was amazing.
amazing. She just absolutely was the best, and I hate that, like, I swear I've never talked to anyone that's seen this one before, and it's like, it's got Angela Lansbury. Come on.
That is very surprising that something with Angela Lansbury has flown so far under the radar. I guess
Yeah,
it's because it's not as fun and different and weird as some of the other ones. Because like
right.
it seems like it's much more like a straightforward kind of story
It
to it and stuff like that. Like there's no reindeer or snowmen or
No.
stuff like that. But hey, can still tell a really good story. And I see this is probably one of the shortest
Mhm.
of their
Oh, it gets in and gets out. Yeah, it gets the story told and gets to Christmas and it snows and you're done. So
and we appreciate that.
I definitely appreciate the efficiency of this movie.
There you go.
So next up, I've got Santa Claus is coming to town
Nice.
because I love the origin story on Santa. It's not the only origin story of Santa we get from Bass Rankin, but it's definitely one of the more fun ones. And you
Mhm.
got, Mickey Rooney doing the voice, which
Of
is
course.
just, and I love that Santa was a red-haired dude and
Yep.
that that part of their canon in these always cracks me up because then as they get older, you always kind of see the little reds.
Mhm.
And I get why the red looks great against all the white that's in all of these. Because in several of the other movies, you get red haired people that look like Conan O'Brien, and you get and it's because they stand out, and you could see
Yeah.
it looks a lot more vibrant and interesting than it's just some blonde guy against a white background.
Well,
But
yeah, Mickey Rooney is definitely one of the most iconic Santas,
for sure,
obviously, especially. And having Fred Astaire be your narrator was such a bold choice. And
right?
like two great supporting characters. One villain, Burgermeister Meisterburger.
Meisterburger
It's
with
like, I've
his
had these
automaton.
toys.
Yeah,
Yes. Which
like
so good. And then the Winter Warlock, I
oh,
love. He's so scary, and then
but
he
he
gets all
turns so
excited.
quick. Like, "I'm gonna help you. Let's feed these deer some
It's
grain and
like
get the heck out of here."
one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
But definitely one of my favorite songs from any of
Mhm.
these is so
Yeah.
good. And this is definitely towards the top of mine, but we'll get there.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, there's a reason it's not higher on mine, and we're almost there.
Okay.
So, the next one I have is The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. So, like I said, there's multiple origin stories
Yep.
here. I think this one's super fun because you get a lot of the mythical animals and creatures and
Mhm.
entities and what their part is in creating, right? So you've
Mhm.
got the fairies and you've got the people that have to do with language, and there's a lot of aspects of this one that you don't really see in a lot of other versions because yeah, you get Mother Nature a lot,
Yep.
right? And you kind of get Winter Warlock in more than one of them, things like that. But I love that they brought language into it,
Mhm.
even with that quirky offbeat sidekick that he gets. Because you got Santa Claus growing up with a lioness, a fairy, and
Yeah.
this guy that speaks parts of a lot of languages.
Mm.
But I think it's a fun way to tell the story without it being elves and Christmas the whole time, but you still end up getting there. but
Yeah.
you get a lot of this, like, there's a dragon in this one. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's so you don't expect that. There's not a lot of dragons in Christmas movies.
There should be more.
There
Uh,
no, 100%.
which like this is mid 80s. So like this is a couple decades into them doing this and they're going wild.
Yeah.
Like this gives off a lot of like Jim Henson Dark Crystal
It does
vibe.
have that
Like
vibe
like
to it, like, especially when they get to the character design on some of them
mhm.
looks straight out of Dark Crystal. When you look at those
Yep.
fairies, I mean, if you put a blonde wig on that fairy instead of a green one, it 100% looks like it came out of Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
But it's also really speaks to their skill. If you look at how dainty and delicate the
Mhm.
features on these fairies are and how
Yeah.
many of them there are, it's I mean, they've got stick thin arms, they've got transparent wings, but there's groups of them in some of
Mhm.
these shots. I mean, some of those group shots where they come together to meet, there's all these different creatures and groups, right? But some of them have really delicate features. Some of them have ones that you know that that fabric is moving a lot and stuff like that. And being able to make all of like it's not a stagnant scene. You're seeing movement everywhere on
Yep.
screen, which is keeping it interesting so that, children are enjoying watching it. I'm enjoying the story.
Yep.
I really like this one a lot because it is so much different than just the straightforward, hey, Santa was an orphan. He got raised here. This is why he's called Claus. He's going to give out toys now. Like you
Yeah.
get more. And I really like that about this one.
Absolutely.
So
So,
next up is where I've got my other Rudolph on the list, which is Rudolph Shiny New Year. I love this
yes.
one so
Me
much.
too.
It's so great. I love all the voices and side characters in this one are so much fun, and there's so many of them. I love the archipelago of years gone by is such a
Yes.
cool thing. I like the
It's such
music's
a great
fun.
idea.
Like it's so cool when you think about it, like, oh, the baby New Year grows up during that year. Like he goes from a baby to, and then he lives on the island of his
Not Ben
year.
Franklin
Not
showing up
yeah.
here.
You've got the knight, you've got Ben Franklin, you've got that storybook land where you run into the three little bears and all this fun stuff. And
Yeah.
again, this is all about a kid, like a baby, being made fun of because he's got big ears. So again, we're going,
Bring it all
you
back.
know, let's make fun of this baby, and that starts all the story. But I
You
think
got like,
Rudolph's a lot more fun in this one
yeah.
too because he's not running away from his problems. He's trying to help someone else.
Yeah.
And I really like that because he's the perfect person, well, animal to do that because he knows. And I think it's a lot of fun. I love Eon, the bad, like, I love
Yeah.
Big Ben. Like I love all the like kind of punny side characters they've got going on. And the backgrounds and the sets on these are just crazy because there's so many different
So
ones.
many. This was a bold movie
For
special that they
sure.
did here. And like Red Skelton as
Yes.
Father Time.
Father Time.
Speaking of streaks in his hair.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then like, yeah, just Sir
Yes.
1022. Yes, gonna
Yes.
scream as you go. And
But
like
I
the
love the Turn Back the Years song is really fun.
yep.
I like that a lot, and it's so much different. It's a holiday you don't normally associate with a special of any kind, especially
Yeah.
for kids, because it's not really a kid holiday. So it's fun that they
No.
made it one.
Like, can you make it? Can you make it to midnight?
Yeah. The other thing that I like about this one is it really doesn't pull from any of their prior works, because a lot of
Mm.
them, they kinda recycle concepts, which we'll talk about in the next one, actually.
Yeah.
You get a lot of similar stuff. You get different songs, but you get similar kinda storylines, similar kinda obstacles. This one's just different. I mean, there's really nothing about this other than the kid being made fun of that,
Mhm.
you know, is like the rest of them.
Well, and I think they use that in a good way to make that connection with Rudolph to have that payoff at the end. But no, this one feels really fresh and very different, and that's cool and weird.
Yeah.
Like
It's, like, just
this
weird enough without being like, "Okay, I can't buy into this." It's, like, weird enough to be fun.
it was a fascinating idea to be like after every year ends, they get banished to an island, and then they just take over said island and turn it into like a reflection of them.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for a 4th of July special to take place with is it 1776?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
They have
like
the parade every day.
yeah, exactly. My mom would love that. She'd live there.
I'm going to the parade today. It's
There
4 o'clock.
you
It's what
go.
we do.
It's what we do.
So the next one I've got is the Easter Bunny is coming to town. I love this one, even though it is exactly Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah.
Like there's no difference in the mail carrier looks like the train conductor. The
Mhm.
Burgermeister Meisterburger is just a the king's aunt in this one. Instead of banning toys, they've banned children from the town. it's I mean, he's
It's
coming up
Chitty
with
Chitty Bang Bang.
it really is. But I love Sunny Bunny. I think he's so much fun. This is one of the ones that I remember from my early childhood. Like, I
Mm.
remember seeing this very early on, and it's been a staple in my Christmas or Easter rotation ever since because Sunny Bunny's so much fun and all the creative ways he's got to come up with to sneak in eggs and
Mhm.
jelly beans. And oh, you guys can only eat beans? We'll make jelly beans.
Mhm.
You guys aren't, the bear stealing my eggs. Well, I'm just going to paint him. He won't know what they are. The three chickens. Oh my gosh, they're hilarious. I love every time they sing. But it's so much fun the whole way through, and it's very colorful, and there's a lot of cool, effects with the jumping and stuff in this
Mhm.
one where when you think about the fact that these aren't cleaned up versions that we see, you don't see wires and strings and stuff rarely ever in their specials at all,
Yeah.
but this one has a lot of jumping and things like that where, like, more so than most of them, obviously having a bunny, and it's very fluid.
Yeah.
And, but you've got the all the other little parts, like, you get the bear to turn over a new leaf and be your friend, and now he wears a suit and has a girlfriend. Like, that's just hilarious. And his name's Gadzooks. Like, I love that. And then he's gonna help you come to town, but oh no, they sent out someone to stop him. So, oh, we're gonna get a train. None of the trains want to help you. Why would a train not want to help you? I don't even so you get the broken down little train and the whole "I think I can." He's so cute, and they with the little Thomas the Tank faces.
Mhm.
But I really like all the fun little things that pop up in this one because it's unexpected, even though it's the same story. A lot of things that happen are unexpected.
Yeah, my Easter tradition of what I watched every year was much more Charlton Heston and just
Yeah,
watching the Ten Commandments every year.
yeah, I can't watch
So
those the same day. It doesn't feel right.
very different
Very,
vibes.
very, very different.
But at least got Fred Astaire again in this one, right?
Exactly.
So they
Which is
definitely recycled that
Oh,
like
100%.
100%.
They put a different outfit on him, but they also started with him as a kid, which is hilarious to me because he's basically got the same big head, but on the little Bass Rankin kid bodies, and he was like a mailman even then.
Was born to
But,
do it.
yeah, it's like, "This is my role. I am the mailman."
Yeah.
So, next up, I've got another animated one, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas."
Yep.
So, another classic, but I love that mice are involved because this was
Mhm.
before, give a mouse a cookie was like a big thing and stuff like that, and I really appreciate seeing everything from the mouse point of view, but you still
Mhm.
get all of the human interaction.
Yep.
I like the I know it might sound funny, but I actually really appreciate the way the dialogue is said in this one. Everyone's very articulate, and even
Mhm.
the names like Joshua Trundle, like, they're fun to say, and
Mhm.
they I think that, like, all the little details that you see on the mice are really funny too because 'cause they're all perfect, like, perfect us size stuff, but
Yeah.
for the mice, they aren't, like, living with, like, a button bed and stuff. They've just got stuff that's tiny, and they talk to the clockmaker and his family and live with them, but I I like the song that the clock is program like, that is made to play to welcome Santa. I like the whole idea of, "Hey, Santa's upset with us because we wrote a letter that upset him, so let's thank him for what he does by building him this big clock tower, welcoming
Mhm.
him to our town." And, like, the whole drama that goes on with finding out that, their son, like, the son, Miles Albert's the one that wrote the letter to Santa and signed it, all of us. They're like, "All of us? We didn't mean why would you say that? Don't make Santa mad."
It's from
But
all of us. This is a fun one. This is another one of like nice lean.
Mhm.
little specials. And it's a I appreciate how you take this very famous song and then make something out of it. And yeah, the mice family's a lot of fun. We enjoy them. Got to have those cheeses for those Mises.
Gotta have the cheeses.
There you go.
So, which brings us to our number 1, which I don't think is too much of a surprise, but The Year Without a Santa.
Yes.
It's the best. That like, when I started doing this, that was the one thing that I put on there right away. I'm like, "Well, I know The Year Without a Santa is my favorite."
Yeah.
Like, I could watch that any time of year. I love the Miser Brothers. I mean, how could
Mm.
you not love the Miser Brothers? They've got great songs. They've got a great back and forth between them, but there's so much else going on in this. Everything from they're in Southtown, but the kids have these very Yankee accents, you know, but yet their mayor sounds like he is from Deep South and then sings about living in Dixie. Meanwhile, you got Ignatius sounding like he's very northern. But I love that they take like Vixen isn't a full-grown deer for some reason, but the others are. But hey, we're gonna hop on her and just head down to Southtown. And then
Yep.
disguising her like the dog, like everything about this, I love
Going to the
it.
pound.
Yeah, the dog, like because they'd never noticed that that wasn't a dog.
They're
And
not paying close enough attention. But
yeah, I
like
mean, professional dog catcher that doesn't know that that
yeah,
dog has hooves.
this whole cast, like the first of all, Mickey Rooney, of course,
Of
as Santa
course.
again.
Mhm.
Shirley Booth as Mrs. Claus is so
Mhm.
wonderful.
So wonderful.
So warm, sweet. And then Dick Shawn, aka LSD, from the producers as
Right?
Snow Miser, and George S. Irving as Heat Miser, who literally looks just like Heat Miser.
Ah. Which is funny that, so they did a live action version of this maybe 20 years ago, which is, like, ridiculously hard to find for some reason, yet when you Google for an image search of this version, you get that version. So, like, because I was trying to find, pictures to show the scale of some of these characters, because when you look in the one scene, Jingle and Jangle looks super tiny
Yeah.
compared to Heat Miser and Snow Miser. So, I was thinking I know I'd seen a picture of the town in this one from, like, a behind the scenes picture, and they were substantial, but they weren't, like, huge. So I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, like, Heat Miser and stuff must be like this," which means how big are the sets that they're using? Like,
Yeah.
they had to be like Nightmare Before Christmas scale for
Yeah.
the sets that they were using for this one, which was much different than a lot of the other things they had done. So, again, it looks like they were kinda going obviously, they were going for something different because
Mhm.
just the Miser Brothers alone is such an interesting thing to come up with. But when they did it live action, Harvey Fierstein played
Yeah.
Heat Miser and was so perfect, and Mike McKean as Snow Miser.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so great. Like, I
I'm
love
too much.
I mean, and he was perfect. But
Which I love the message of this, them trying to give Santa the spirit of Christmas
right.
again. And it is very interesting looking at some of the aspects of Christmas you don't think of. It's like, we want a white Christmas, which I live in New Jersey. We haven't had a lot of snow in a while, which is sad. Because to be honest, I'm at the point where I'm like, I only want snow if it's getting me out of work. I'm I'm that grumpy adult now. But like looking at like the South, it's like, oh my God, it's snowing.
Yeah.
Like what kind of ecological
Oh,
disaster is happening right
yeah.
now? But
Which
no, it's just Christmas
it's
magic.
problematic, but it's like, "That's Christmas magic, we just want it to be white," and that's true, like, for real down here, it's like, we just wanna be able to actually wear sleeves on Christmas. It's so hot right now, like, you can
Mhm.
barely go outside in jeans and not be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot."
Yeah, we had like a mild 50 something degree day today. And it's just like I was enjoying it. That's my perfect temperature, 50
Yeah.
degrees. That is my thing. So, great list, a lot of crossover. So, um, my number 10 is Little Drummer Boy. So I did mention
Mhm,
ours were pretty close.
mhm.
I just watched this for the first time. Number 9 is Cricket on the Hearth.
That's it, like, almost made my list. It's so crazy, like, how dark it kinda got there in the
Yeah.
middle. but then, like, it comes back.
Like I had no idea where this is going, to be
I didn't
perfectly
either,
honest.
because I was
And
like, "This is kinda getting depressing, like, it's gotta lighten up soon."
it's just like, yeah, we have this little cricket, but then we're gonna spend all of this time on like this love story and stuff like that.
Right?
Like, this is crazy. And
Roddy McDowall is the cricket I love.
yeah,
I love
which
him so much.
I am such a big Roddy McDowall fan from all of my watchings of Planet of the Apes, all five original Planet of the Apes movies.
Ugh.
So that one definitely stuck out. Number eight, I did have Frosty's Winter Wonderland, and I noticed no Frosty on yours, which honestly,
No,
this time around, I was watching it, I'm like,
right?
I don't know how much I love these because like my eight and seven are the two Frosty movies. And I'm just like, happy birthday. And then it's just like they don't feel as magical as some of the other ones. Like there's not the you do have the like little bit of music and stuff like that, but just they didn't stand out as much compared to some of the other ones, which is why they're both pretty low on my
Well,
list.
because their point of what they're trying to do isn't all that great either. It's like, okay, so you're just trying to stay away from someone whose hat you actually kind of stole. And what's your end game here? You think that when you get to the North Pole, the guy's just going to stop and not take the hat? Like if you get to where you're going, he's not chasing you anymore,
Very
you
true.
know?
Um, my number six, so after the two Frosties was the night before Christmas. I that was the first time I watched that one for this list, and I did really,
Mhm.
really enjoy that. My number five was Jack Frost, and I'm pretty sure it's this high because boy, does this have a ton of like steampunk stuff in it.
It does. It's
Just like
got a lot of cool visuals in this one.
I'm like, I'm down for that vibe. Like honestly, that's probably one of the main reasons why it's this high on here. But like, you have some of, like the classic like Paul Frees, you have
Mhm.
Buddy Hackett,
Yes.
which I literally just rewatched Scrooge tonight. So starring Bobby Hackett as Scrooge.
Scrooge.
And this one was wild. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, okay. But I have to say, my favorite Jack Frost is probably still Martin Short.
I know, right?
Singing New York, New York
New
as
York.
North Pole, North Pole.
And
Which
the
like
elves looking so uninterested in being there as they're doing the kick line.
which I feel like this three Santa Claus movies progressively got less good. But like by
Oh,
that third one, Martin Short sure still was
mhm.
inspired
Yeah.
showing up there. But then the top four, so Rudolph is my number four. I love my top three though. Rudolph Shiny New Year's definitely on there. I always loved that one since I was a kid. Honestly, that was probably the one that I loved watching the most.
Mhm.
My number two, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Love the music, love the characters, but also at number one, because it should be, is The Year Without a Santa. So
Heck yeah.
I don't like at this point, like obviously Rudolph and Frosty are like the most iconic ones, but like Year Without a Santa, I feel like just has all the best stuff in
It does. It's got the best songs. It's got the most fun exchanges between the
it.
characters. Like, because there's just so many, like,
I'm
there's
too
so much
much.
conflict. There's just so much conflict, but not like none of it seems mean-spirited like it does
Yep.
in some of the other ones. And I think that's why it tends to be one that I'll go back to over and over because I'm not
Mhm.
like, "Oh, why are they picking on this guy? Why are they doing this?" It's like, no, everyone's trying to actually do something nice. And
Yeah,
that's why I think this one just stands the test of time so well is it's the most positive, I think, of any of these.
exactly. And every time it's like, uh, and like the second that hits, it's just like, oh, we're on for a show.
There's actually another one that would have made my list, but it's technically not Bass Rankin because it didn't come out until like 2006, even
Uh-huh.
though I think Romeo Mueller was still alive to be part of writing on this one. It's the Miser Brothers Christmas, and it's stop motion, and it looks good, and it looks right,
Feel
but
like I
I like
remember
I
that
like
coming out.
Yeah. I think it was like a, ABC Family, like, made for TV one that
I
they did one
see.
year,
Yeah,
but,
because it's
it's not
yeah.
technically Bass Rankin, but it is those characters, it's that style, it's whoever, like, owns the rights now,
Well,
but
yeah,
they
Mickey
have
Rooney was still in it. George S. Irving was still in it. They did have to
ye
replace Dick Shawn because
mhm.
I think he passed away relatively young. Did he?
Yeah, I don't think he was even close to making it for these,
But I
but,
have to check that out at some point.
you get
Obviously,
Mother
it
Nature
looks.
and all them again, and you get the brothers have to come together in this
Mhm,
one, which is kinda cool because it wasn't just a one-time kinda thing. They had to actually come together to, help fight against someone else, but you get a lot of those cool characters again,
mhm.
like, from the world of Mother Nature, and there's a wind, like a person in charge of the wind, and he's tired of not being he's kinda like a Jack Frost from the Santa Claus kinda thing, is
Yeah.
what's going on, is he's basically doing that kinda thing. Like, "I'm taking over Christmas." Like, "Oh, come on, Santa, it's okay. I'll take care of this for you." And it's really
My
fun
God,
though.
this Wind character has like a
He's
Jay Leno
crazy,
fit.
right? Like, yeah, with the purple suit and the big
Yeah,
cloudy hair,
like
but
is
they
like the North Wind.
yeah.
I'm
But he's
like,
got
is it
the
Jay Leno?
style is awesome though, because everything looks right, just
I'll have to check
newer.
that one out. It's one of those situations where it's like I love this supporting character. Give them their own movie.
Yeah,
I feel like this one would succeed because they're great.
mm, right?
So
Yeah.
it's the Finding Dory of
I was pleasantly
best.
surprised when that one came out. That was one of those where I actually was, like, on vacation and said, "No, we can't go to dinner tonight. I have to be
I'm
home
gonna
to
have to
see
watch
this."
this.
Like, "Sorry, like, we can't record it because no one's got TiVo," 'cause that was, like, the only option at that point.
Yeah,
I'm
wow,
like, "Yeah,
that
we
was
can't." I'm like,
15
we
years ago.
yeah, I'm like, "We can't go to dinner until after this comes on at 6 because I've been waiting for a month, and I don't know when I'll see it again."
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking I was in high school then, and I definitely remember that coming out. Like I
Yeah.
almost 100% remember. I don't think I watched it, but I do recall them advertising that.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure it was, like, my first vacation to see my husband's parents, and I'm like, "Yeah, we have to stay home tonight, sorry."
sorry.
Nice to meet you. I'm watching TV for an hour."
There you go. But this was a fun list and
Mhm.
obviously perfect time for the season. So hopefully all of you check out these wonderful lists and check out these wonderful specials if that isn't part of your holiday traditions already. I know I'll definitely wind up watching some of these. I'm having my annual holiday movie marathon, and I think Year Without a Santa did get voted in. So yes, because my friends have taste.
That's right.
Uh, we'll definitely be watching that. But Patrice, thank you so much for coming on and talking some Rankin-Bass with me.
Anytime, it's always fun.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.